Hey guys, I'm Sanfai and welcome back to the part 2 of the Gemini AI Chatbot series. So in this part, we're going to be learning how you can make the front end for your chatbots. So before we start this video, I'm just going to be giving you a quick recap of what we did in the last video, which was the part 1. So feel free to skip this part if you want. So in the last part, we learned how you can customize and train your own AI model using the two methods that Gemini provides. So one method was just by simple text and the other method was by example prompts, which we also have right over here. So we learned how we can use Google's AI Studio to do this. And also we learned how we can integrate this into Python and then run this into our terminal. So we can just test it out again just here. So we can just run this Python file and we can just write our prompt, for example, hi, and we'll get a response from the AI using Gemini's API. So that's what we learned in the last part. So if you have not already watched the last part, then I would highly recommend that you first check that out and then come to this part, because otherwise you'll not be able to understand most of the things that we are going to be talking about in this part. So I'll leave a link to it in the I button on the top right and also in the description. So now if you guys have done the last part, then that's great, amazing, and you guys can continue with this part. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how you can make the front end of your application, just like how I showed in the starting of the last video, which makes it look similar to ChatGPT, like that chat interface that we have there. So for that, what you have to do first of all is that you have to know what is streamlit. So streamlit is actually an extremely powerful Python library that allows you to create front end for your Python applications. So this is how the website looks like. It will be in the description, and here we can just check out the docs from right over here. So obviously this is going to be just a to-the-point video on how you can create a chatbot, so I'm not going to be teaching you the entire streamlit in this video. So you guys can check out the docs here. These are actually pretty good and you can completely learn streamlit right from here. But what we are concerned about is the LLM part of it. So we can just go on to tutorials and we can just go on to work with LLMs, and we can just click on build a basic LLM chat app, because this is going to contain the basic instructions on how we can create our own basic chat app just like ChatGPT. So as you can see, ChatGPT like clone. So I'll also leave a link to this web page in the description so you don't have to worry about finding it. So just from here, we have to find the best chatbot that would suit our particular use case. So let's just scroll down and we can see the EchoBot is good, and we can see this is actually the one that we are going to be using. So you can see right now, if we just write anything here like hi, we can test it out. This is going to give us a random response. Like whatever we write, this is going to give us one of the 3 random response that it has. So if I write who are you, it's obviously not going to work because there is no actual AI behind it right now. We're going to be learning how we can do exactly that. This is just a basic demo of how the chatbot would look like after it is working. So what we can do from here is that we can just simply copy this code that we have. So let's just find the code. Okay, we can see view full code from here. And let's just copy this code from here. And let's just paste it into a new file. So let's create a new, actually let's rename this old file as backend. And let's create a new main file, and then let's paste this code into the main file. And once you guys have pasted this code into your main.py file, you have to do one more thing, that is to import your backend.py file. So we'll just write import backend, just like that. And it's going to be importing the entire backend.py file, including all of its functions. Also, you must have noticed one more thing, that I have commented out the while loop here, and that is because now we're going to be running everything through our front end, so we do not need this while loop, which was used to run our application in the terminal. So you can just comment this out, and now we can just go ahead back into our main.py file. So right over here, you can see straight up on the top that we have a response generator function, which, as the name suggests, is used for generating our response. So right now it is just generating a random response among these 3 options, so we don't want this at all, so we can just remove it from here. And instead what we want here is that we want to generate a response based off this function. So what we'll do here is that we'll first pass a prompt as a parameter into this function, and in response we'll store the value of our actual response, which we can get by running this function. So for that, we'll just write here response is equals to backend dot generate response prompt. This way we can just simply get the response from our backend file and we can store it into this variable. And just in case you're wondering what this for loop is for, this is actually for that cool animation that you get, just like how ChatGPT has when you're actually printing a response. And now when we scroll down a little bit more, we see something called the title, which actually defines the thing that you see on the top of the page. So you can change this if you want. And if you scroll down more, this is just setting the session state, and this is actually the part that is of our interest, because this is where it takes the prompt from the user. So you can see that this is taking the chat input, which is this part right over here, and it's actually by default saying what is up, which you can see right over here, and then it's storing it into the prompt variable. So basically the prompt variable is storing the prompt given by the user. So this is the prompt that we're going to be passing into this function. So we have to find where this function is getting called and simply replace it with prompt, and that way our code would be complete. So we can just find this function. This is right over here. So we can just simply pass prompt into this function, and that's it. We are all set, and now our code will work. So before we run this program, let me just tell you one more thing, that whenever you're working with Python, it's actually a really good practice to create a virtual environment. So let's just do that right now. So to do that, you just have to run python /m venv. And if you're on Mac OS, you have to run python 3 /mvenv. So just try that out if this does not work for you, and then just hit enter. And this way you can see that a virtual environment has been created on the top left, and now you just have to click on yes in the bottom right. So once you guys have done that, our virtual environment has been activated, and straight up you will see that on the top you get an error because this was not installed in our virtual environment. And the same way we also get an error in our backend.py file because this module was not installed in our virtual environment. So now what we'll do is that first of all we'll open a new terminal. This is actually very important, guys. Make sure you open a new terminal, and then we're going to be running the commands to actually download these modules before we can import them. So to download the Google Generative AI module, we'll just write pip install Google/generative AI. And to install Streamlit, we'll just run pip install Streamlit. And again, guys, this might be pip 3 for you if you guys are on Mac OS. So I know it does take some time, guys, but finally it seems like we have both of these modules downloaded. So as you can see, we do not have that error anymore. So now we are all set, and now what you have to do here is that just run this file. But it's actually not as easy as just running it from here, because now we're using Streamlit. So to run it now, we're going to be using a command called streamlit run. And now after streamlit run, we'll have to mention the file name that is using Streamlit and that we want to run. So for example, here we're using main.py file, which is using Streamlit here, as you can see right over here. So we're going to be writing streamlit run main.py, and then just hit enter. And now is the time when our Streamlit file is going to be running. So as you guys can see, our simple chatbot is running right over here, and now we can just write anything like hi, and this time Gemini is the one that's going to respond here. So as you can see, this is Gemini, and now you can also write something like who are you, and it will probably reply that it's a healthcare chatbot, as you guys can see, because this is Gemini and it knows that it is a healthcare chatbot. So guys, this was how you can make frontend for your AI chatbot, which is something similar to ChatGPT's interface. And now guys, I'm going to be teaching you one more very important thing before we end this video, and that is how you can hide your API key. So you can see right now that your API key is visible to everybody, and this is not at all something that you want. So for that, to hide this, we can actually create a .env file and then put this API key right here, something like Gemini API key is equals to, and here we can put our API key. And this way we do not have to mention our API key over here. But obviously guys, it's not going to be working right now because we literally did not mention anything inside it. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to write some code to fetch that API key from our .env file. So for that, we'll just have to import another module, which we'll also have to download, which is called .env. So we'll just write from .env import load_.env. So this is actually very important. And now down here you have to write load.env, and then inside this genai.configure you have to write API key is equals to os.getEnv, and then inside this bracket we'll be writing Gemini API key, because that is what we named it in our .env file. Alright, so we're just going to write Gemini API key. And now our API key is successfully hidden inside a .env file. So now whenever you upload it somewhere, like for example GitHub, or if you deploy it, just make sure to hide this .env file, and that way nobody will be able to steal your API key. And now to fix this error, we'll just simply run a command called pip install python/.env and then just hit enter. And now this is going to install the .env module, and as you can see, the error is no longer here. And now simply we can run it using streamlit run main.py again. You won't notice any change over here, but now your project is actually much more secure and nobody can access your API key. So that is actually a really nice thing to have. So guys, that was it for today's video. If you guys have any problems, then you can let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to help you. And don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.